This episode of the Restoration Today podcast is brought to you by Core Restores at corerestores.com. Did you know contents can save insurance carriers and customers 30% or more versus total replacement costs? The ability to restore personal items after a loss offers additional revenue for your company and valuable emotionally connected service for your customers. Core has been doing contents restoration and packouts for 25 years and counting as partners with restoration companies of all shapes and sizes. Learn more at corerestores.com. Hey there, thanks for checking out a fresh episode of the Restoration Today podcast. Today I'm very excited to be joined by somebody who can always make me laugh and smile. He has been on the podcast before. He and I have been friends for some time in the industry. I'm joined by David Hart. He is behind Ram Air International, Guaranteed Duct Cleaning. He is an inventor, an author, a science educator. We have done other podcasts on other things. And today we're doing a case study podcast because I actually just did a survey of CNR readers and asked what they wanted more of, and they want more case studies. So David happens to be here to deliver. We are talking about duct cleaning and a big job that he just recently did. There's also going to be some pictures and stuff woven throughout this podcast. So if you're listening to this, you might want to pop over and watch this one on video so that you can get the visual effects of this one as well. But David, thank you very much for joining me and being back on the podcast. I'm excited to have you here. So I'm going to have you introduce yourself and share a little bit about your background as an inventor and your companies and all that before we dive into the case study.
Well, it's an honor as always, Michelle. Thank you so much. Okay, background. I got into the cleaning industry in the early 90s after getting out of the Army. I got into carpet cleaning and then worked for 3 different carpet cleaning companies back in the 90s. Got quite a bit of experience in that. I knew right away after getting into the industry that I wanted to start my own company one day. And I did. I launched Guarantee Carpet and Upholstery Cleaning in the fall of 1998. And we started off, like I say, in carpet cleaning. Then I added an area rug cleaning plant, which we grew, and it became a pretty good size area rug cleaning plant. And I always wanted to get into duct cleaning also. And so I bought some duct cleaning equipment, wasn't pleased with the way that it operated. I didn't like the fact that there wasn't a visual factor, because being a carpet cleaner, we love our visual, the response from the customer. They see the magic that we're doing in front of their eyes. And there was none of that in duct cleaning. And the equipment just kind of seemed clumsy to me. You had to cut into the duct system in order to access it and then repair that damage when you're done. It took a long time. There was just some things I didn't like about it, but great profit potential, undersaturated market, as opposed to carpet cleaning, which was becoming very saturated. And this was 20 some years ago, not to mention where we're at today. And so I really wanted to do it. And the inner nerd inventor in me came out, and I came up with a method. In theory, I made a prototype of it, put it to use. I'm like, this works, and it provides that visual, and it does a great job, and it doesn't require cutting in. And I'll get into more of how it works when we go into what we're going to talk about. But long story short, I came up with it just to use in my own company. I had no aspiration. My hair was down to my elbows. I'm as blue collar as you can get, no college education. I had no aspirations of becoming a manufacturer, distributor, anything like that. But it happened. I ended up talking to the right people, and next thing you know, within one spring, it was the spring of 2007. I got connected with Bridgepoint Corporation, which is now a Ramsco.
Yep.
And they wanted to carry my duct cleaning system. So I had to name it. I called it the Ram Air Duct Cleaning System. And all of a sudden, boom, now it's available in 500 locations in the United States and 5 foreign countries. And I find myself a manufacturer. That was a fun learning experience. We go into that in another interview that you and I did.
Yep.
That was a lot of fun. But now we're in every major city in the United States and 22 foreign countries. We're a dominant leader in duct cleaning manufacturing, as well as training. In fact, I just got back from Indianapolis a few weeks ago with Microbial Warrior Academy, for which I'm a scientific advisor, and I instruct the HVAC portion of forensic restoration. And the topic of the one in Indianapolis was fentanyl remediation.
Yep.
Tell you what, there's cleaning, there's disaster restoration, there's forensic restoration, and there's fentanyl. Dangerous stuff. I mean, 2 milligrams, deadly. 1 kilo, Okay. 1 kilo bag contains 1 million lethal doses of this stuff. So to me, okay, I'm not expecting to find a bunch of fentanyl in HVAC systems. Okay. But set the standard high on how you do it.
Mhm.
It's like disinfectants. It's an EPA registered tuberculocidal disinfectant. Why tuberculocidal? Because tuberculosis is so hard to kill. Okay. So if you can clean and decontaminate an HVAC system to the level of fentanyl remediation, you got that sucker pretty clean and decontaminated. So that's what that was all about. A little bit of a digression there, but
That's right.
that's the history of what it's become. And now at this point, we're constantly evolving our duct cleaning products. I'm never satisfied with how things are to the point of saying good enough. We stop here. I'm satisfied with it. Heck yeah, it works great. Okay, that's why it is what it is and where we gotten. But never good enough. I always want to make it a little better. So there you go.
Okay, so talking about the fentanyl topic here really quick before we move on to the case study, how often does duct cleaning need to be part of the protocol when when you have a fentanyl remediation cleanup job?
Okay, the answer to that question is different than how often does it need to be part of, say, a fire restoration or a crime scene or an unattended death. Because on those, I think it should be every single time. Okay, because when the air circulates through a structure, anything that can become airborne is going to find its way into the HVAC system, and you ought to clean that sucker out. Because what is an HVAC system? Really, it's mostly a bunch of tubes, and those are surfaces. Okay, they're cylindrical tubular surfaces. They need to be cleaned and decontaminated too. They happen to be the tubes through which all you breathe, the air which all you breathe travels. So pretty important stuff. In regard to fentanyl, depends on the category. I mean, if you find some pills in an establishment in a drug bust, I don't think you need to clean and decontaminate the HVAC system. I don't think it's ever a bad idea to, because I have yet to see a clean HVAC system other than one that recently got clean.
Yeah.
So it's never a bad idea to. But if there was fentanyl being manufactured and some of it had the potential of becoming airborne, absolutely clean and decontaminate that HVAC system.
Okay. All right. Okay, so let's move into the case study and talk through that a little bit. So this was not your first rodeo. Have you cleaned this specific casino before, or was this a new casino for you?
We did work at this particular casino last year.
Okay.
A different part of it. We did what's called back of house, which is all the offices, all that kind of stuff. And this time they had us back to do the casino floor, which was a much bigger undertaking, much bigger duct system, bigger ducts themselves. This is the 7th casino that we've done in the last couple of years, though.
Okay. Okay. So what was the scope of work like? You said, like, how many square feet did this duct work cover and all of that? Like, what was the scope of work for a job like this?
Right. On this particular job, the square footage of the casino floor was 48,000. So in the form of casinos, that's not that big. I mean, it's a pretty big structure as far as structures go, but as far as casinos go, no. We did one a couple years ago that was 208,000 square feet. That was a much bigger one.
Yep. Okay. So when you're doing, how many people did you have with you on this job, and how long did it take to clean the ducts?
On this particular one, 48,000 square feet, there was 3 technicians and myself.
Okay.
And my job was a lot of it just kind of, standing around waving my hands, smoking a cigar off to the side, because you can do that in these casinos. It took us 3 days.
Okay.
3 days. Not quite a full 3rd day, but it was just, and 8 hours a day. It wasn't like it was, grueling days.
Okay. So what did the setup look like? Is there anything special that you have to do for a job like this?
Sure. A scissor lift. Now, fortunately, every casino we've ever done and every big building that has the duct systems way up there that high, which the ducts are, 25, 30 feet above ground level, they're going to have their own scissor lift anyway on site. So we just utilize those, saves us having to get the thing delivered, picked up, paid for. So really, we pretty much just show up and go to work. We get the scissor lift out there. I believe we have some photos we may be showing here in a little bit.
Yep.
You'll see where we're actually taping off and closing off some of the register openings. And that's to achieve a couple things. I'll get into that when we get to that point. But really setting up some cones, okay, to block areas off, because we got people walking around drinking and gambling. You know, we don't want them right below what we're doing. So there's a big safety factor involved as well. In fact, that's a lot of what that third person on the job of these is doing, is keeping eyes out and making sure everything's safe.
Okay. All right. So you have all this is your list set up. How much equipment are you bringing in for all of this? And where is the dust and debris being collected, and like the output that's coming out of the ducts? Again, people will see how dirty they were before and what they look like after. So where is all this going?
Okay, great question. And I love that, because what equipment do we bring in? That's the beauty of it. Because the biggest, most expensive, most powerful part of the equipment is already there. It's been there for years, and it's already hooked up to the duct system. It's the air handlers, okay? If you're familiar with the way we do things, we use the ram air system, of course. It's called positive air duct cleaning. Yeah, people are familiar with the term negative air duct cleaning, where you cut into the ducts, you turn the air handler off, and then you hook up a tube to the hole that you cut, and you have a reverse machine. So the air mover that we use is not a negative air machine that we bring to the location and then have to cut in and hook up. We just turn the air handler on. And the beautiful thing about it is, the bigger the system, the bigger the building, the bigger the commercial job, the more powerful our air machine is. You know, you take a negative air duct cleaning machine, maybe 5,000 CFM. And by the way, I'm not knocking the negative air method. I don't want to go there, okay? It's not what this is about, okay? It's just that this is how we do it. A negative air machine, 5,000 CFM for a portable, maybe 15,000, maybe a little more CFM, which is a lot of CFM for a truck mount. Well, the puppies on top of this casino are 50,000 CFM of air movement. Now, when you're talking about ducts that are 4-foot diameter and 75, 80 feet long, you're going to need that amount of air movement. And at 15,000 CFM just really isn't going to cut it. And the way that a negative air would have to do a casino like this, and by the way, there's 32 air handlers on the roof, you'd have to cut in to every one of those air handlers with a portable, because you can't go driving an air duct truck into the casino, obviously, or up on the roof. So you're gonna have to cut in all those number of times and hook a 5,000 CFM air mover up to a duct system that's meant to pull 50,000 CFM. It's not going to fly. So we use the air mover. And getting back to your question, which was, what do we bring to the job site? That is already there. It's already mounted, already hooked up to the duct system. We bring a vacuum to collect the debris as it comes out, and some agitation devices. Those agitation devices are typically in the form of a whip. Sometimes we'll use a brush, rarely, but we have been known to, a soft bristle brush, and air blast, and then the vacuum to contain the debris as it becomes airborne.
Okay, so the vacuum is containing the debris. So where is the vacuum? People are probably understanding this better than I am.
Right. Well, there's a portable vacuum that we bring to the jobs.
Yep.
Now, there's a lot of misconception about the positive air duct cleaning method. They'll see our vacuum and they think that we're replacing a negative air machine or a negative air duct truck with our vacuum. And that's absolutely not the case. If that were, it would be ridiculous. And I can see people sit there and say, oh, you know, you're trying to compare yourself to this 15,000 CFM with your little vacuum. No, I'm comparing the 15,000 CFM duct truck to the air handler. Okay. And every forced air system has an air handler, and every air handler hooked to every forced air system has enough power, obviously, to push through that duct system. So you have the correct air mover already hooked up to and delivered to every duct system in a air system with the positive air method. So yeah.
Do you ever measure how much debris is coming out of the ducts, or know, like, check out like how dirty this was, or this is what we got out of it, or whatever that may be?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we have a clear measurement of how much comes out of each one, and it's simply by how much debris ends up in our vacuum. And the vacuum, by the way, can be our portable vacuum, or if it's a large commercial, we can actually use air scrubbers, similar to a portable negative air machine, in order to keep up with that amount of CFM. Because if you're pushing 50,000 CFM, you can't count on 175 CFM to collect all that dust and debris. So you want to incorporate some air scrubbers into the collection of that debris. HEPA filtered air scrubbers.
Okay, HEPA filter. Okay, so when you're do ducts like this require anything extra? Like, is there nicotine buildup? Is it ever sticky because it's inside a casino? Like, does it need anything extra?
Tar, yeah, there's sometimes tar in those. For example, I was talking about smoking a cigar in the one that we were doing. So yeah, there's smoking in that particular casino. There isn't in all of them. Now, one thing about the casinos, coronavirus, the pandemic, was kind of a turning point for a lot of these casinos when they decided, okay, we have to wear masks in here. Well, we can't allow smoking. So a lot of them that were allowing smoking didn't during the pandemic, and then decided to not start the smoking back up after the pandemic. So we're picking up some of these casinos to clean the ducts and get some of that tar out of there. And the tar is recognizable in the consistency of the dust, have a little more kind of gooiness to it.
Does that, I mean, but that must stick to the ducts different, right, than doing like HVAC cleaning in an office building where nobody has been smoking, right? So is there any sort of different process to cleaning the ducts in a casino versus cleaning them like in a large office building?
Process of cleaning it is pretty much the same. Physical agitation, air movement, and vacuum. Oftentimes in a heavy smoked in situation, we will treat it similar to a fire restoration job, in which case we use, sometimes we'll use a stabilized liquid chlorine dioxide or something of that nature in order to treat the sides of the duct. But that's in a heavy smoking situation.
Okay. Okay. All right. So let's talk about safety. I can just imagine people wandering through the casinos and seeing these lifts and the cones and people up high in the ceilings and wondering what's going on. They've been drinking, maybe haven't gone to bed in 3 days and are on a gambling streak. I don't know. So what does safety look like? Making sure that the people in the casino are safe, business can carry on as usual, and your team is safe. Right.
Well, it's not like people are like staggering around incoherently. I mean, they're pretty understanding. We'll cone off an area and people just don't walk in that area while we're doing it. And these casinos are large enough that we do them in the daytime as well. So it's not like they're slammed busy, and it works out pretty smoothly.
Do you ever have to have machines or tables moved to access the right spot, or are you able to maneuver around?
We're usually able to maneuver around. The scissors lifts that we use, they'll go up, and then sometimes there'll be a slot machine or something directly under it, but there'll be a platform that slides out on the top of that. So just go up. And we have a technician here who is an ace on those scissor lifts. His name's Nick, and he just goes up and then just slides right out over that puppy. So we've never had to have a slot machine moved. I imagine that would be a pretty big undertaking. Things like that. Yeah. We'll move those.
Did you run into any unique challenges on this job?
Any challenges on this one? The 4-foot diameter ducting, that's pretty big stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'd call it a challenge. I would say that we definitely had to cater our system in order to do that, because the whip, if we just ran a whip in there, which is attached to some rods, that's just going to go along the bottom. You're not going to be able to get that thing. So we did have to be affix structures and whatnot within the duct in order to keep that whip elevated and at the level that it would reach all the sides of that ducting. So yeah, I'd guess you'd call that a challenge, but they go pretty smoothly.
So what about the 208,000 square foot casino that you did? Did that one have any interesting challenges or unique traits?
Just took longer. Took longer.
Okay. How long did that one take? If this took 3 days and 3 people, how long did 208,000 square feet take?
That was a 2-week job. We went down to California. We live in Oregon, and we went down to California for that. They put us up. It's really nice because they put us up in these hotels, and they're pretty darn nice rooms usually. We worked Monday through Friday, took the weekend off, and then finished up Monday through, I think it was Thursday of the following week in order to do that whole casino. But they also threw in a couple other things. They're like, hey, while you're here, can you do, this office and that office and stuff? So we ended up doing more than the 208, but that was almost 2 weeks. A lot of fun though. We went hiking up through the redwoods and whatnot on the weekend, and swimming in a big pool, big natural blue pool and stuff. So
that's cool.
We like when we're working.
Yeah. So what would be some of the beauty of a restoration company thinking about adding air duct cleaning services to their offerings? I can think of a few, but I want you to say them and see if I'm along the right track. Because restorers now are always looking for other ways to expand their businesses, especially things that are going to be scheduled and it's not based on active nature type of loss, right? Something that they can schedule out, it's going to be routine, whatever. So for restorers thinking about, hey, I could add more, this maybe duct cleaning, something that I could add to my restoration business, what do you say back to them?
Well, either you offer it or you're probably going to be subcontracting it.
Yeah.
And you always got to ask yourself when you have a restoration business, do I subcontract it or do I offer it myself? And you got to ask yourself, well, how much equipment does it take? How much training does it take? Is there certification? And what's the overhead versus, and take a look at the numbers on the thing. And, and I'm not doing this as a plug for the Ram Air system, but gosh, the platinum package, which gives you everything you need. We didn't use anything beyond that for this whole casino. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's $5,000, and then you just need a compressor beyond that. And one or two restoration jobs, you got that thing paid for. Mm-hmm. So, and it's really, a lot of people like to confuse HVAC cleaning. I don't really know why, but you're turning dirty tubes into clean tubes. It isn't rocket science. There is a science to it. And, we do that science for you though. So you really don't have to. It's pretty simple. The HVAC, the air handler itself, yeah, you got to clean the coils and things like that, but that's also pretty simple stuff. And if you're a restoration company, the HVAC cleaning portion of it, HVAC cleaning and decontamination portion of it is going to be one of the easiest procedures that you do within your company. So it's worth considering.
How much have you seen duct cleaning and the need for it or interest in it change or evolve since COVID?
A lot. We've had a lot of restoration companies come on board. And I can honestly say, out of all the restoration companies that have gotten systems from us and whatnot, there's not a single one that wasn't just absolutely ecstatic for adding that service onto their offering. Yeah. But COVID, it changed some things. It changed the way we look at things, and it changed. I'm not saying that it necessarily changed procedure, but I think it woke a lot of people up. And it's just like, remember when they made wearing your seatbelt a law? Okay, I never wore my seatbelt before that, but then they made it a law, so we get used to doing it. And now, if I get in a car and if I don't buckle my seatbelt, I feel naked. You know, and so wash your hands, be clean, do this, do that, was so ingrained in us. I think we're continuing that mentality moving forward. And that's a good thing. Hygiene is a good thing. And, the HVAC system is so often overlooked because it isn't clearly visible right in front of you. The carpet is visible, everything else is visible. But the HVAC system is pretty important. So it's time that it got the attention that it's been needing all
along. Okay. So I'm curious, like, you've told interesting job stories on my podcast before, but is there a job that sticks out to you as interesting or unique or whatever that may be? And I'm curious also of something interesting you found in ductwork, which is another question you've answered, but I always like to ask it, so I'm asking it again.
Well, as for interesting jobs we've done everything from prisons, and we've done several prisons at this point. And people are always like, oh, tell me about that one, because that sounds interesting. We see movies about shanks and all this, contraband inside of ducts. I think people are expecting that we're going to say that we found drugs and knives, and no, nothing like that. We have not found one interest. In fact, the prisons that we've done have probably been about the most boring jobs that we've ever done. There's just dust in them. We've done hospitals, as you know, lots of casinos, homes, probably homes, to be honest with you. I've found more interesting things in just homes than anything else.
I could see that.
You get into these 100-year-old homes and you find old things. And I remember in another interview we did, I talked about a 24 pieces of silverware I found in a duct one time, and that was real silver. And we figured that maybe back during the recession, they used that as their safe and put things. A lot of people hide things down in their ducts, and then we find them. So that gets interesting. We talked about the live cat that I pulled out one time. Lots of dead animals, birds, raccoon, dead cats, lots of rats and mice.
Ugh.
Like I said one other time, if it's able to fit into a duct, we've probably pulled it out. And sometimes you got to scratch your head. How does this stuff get in there? I pulled 7 bricks out of a duct one time. Bricks, like the kind that you build a house with.
Yeah.
And they were way down in there. Why? How? I don't know.
Like in the basement? Like where in the ductwork? You say way down in there. Where?
Well, what I mean is way down into the duct, like 15 feet
Okay.
down, in the supply duct. And why these stuff gets in there. There's a lot of construction garbage. Sometimes you can get a little story of pull a lot of beer cans out. Okay, so maybe there was a guy working nights building the house, and he's like, if I throw it in the trash can, the boss will see it in the morning, but stick it down in this tube here, and it's hidden. So yeah.
Great. Okay, all right. David, anything else you want to talk about? Anything else you want to share? Share a little bit about where people can find out about the Microbial Warrior training.
Microbial Warrior Academy is well worth looking into if you're into forensic restoration on any level, whether it be crime scene, unattended death, meth, fentanyl decontamination. It's a real training course. It's not a class. It's not a class where you just sit there and you listen to somebody lecture and then you fill out the test at the end. You suit up, you train, you get in there, and you know what you're doing when you walk out of there. I've actually, I'm certified in both the forensic restorer operator as well as the high risk, high level, which is the one that we just did in Indianapolis a few weeks ago, that we incorporated the HVAC portion into. It's going to be part of the training course moving forward, which it needed to be for quite some time. And I'm glad that Jeff with Microbial Warrior is taking that seriously. So it's a very eye-opening, awakening. I haven't met anybody yet that took it that didn't say, just, wow, I'm a better person for having taken it. Jeff is so passionate.
Yes.
Jeff Jones, who started the Microbial Warrior Academy, and he's considered by many in the industry to be the world's leader in forensic restoration. I consider him the what do we call it in martial arts? The grandmaster of forensic restoration. So to train with him, it's an absolute honor, and you really walk away with something you can sink your teeth into and use in the industry.
Perfect. All right. You can find out more at microbialwarrior.com. David, thank you very much for joining me as always. It's always a pleasure chatting with you. Thank you for sharing the ductwork case study. I don't think I'd want to be in a casino cleaning out ductwork or cleaning out any ductwork. So better you and your team than me, especially pulling out rats. That would be an extra no.
We're going to get you on a job sometime. Almost like
okay.
a jobs thing. I think we ought to get you out there.
My first job out of college, I actually did run a dirty jobs. Called my Dirty Martini column. I was a small town newspaper, and I had a dirty jobs column that I ran in every single issue of the. Maybe I need to start that back up. Maybe we need to start that back up in CNR. That could be fun.
That would be cool.
Yeah,
let's do some crazy cool stuff.
Yes, I like it.
And you're
David, always a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.
For more Restoration Today and the latest news, visit our website, cnrmagazine.com, and find the latest episodes of the Restoration Today podcast on your favorite podcasting platform.